And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business with the thickest of showdowns we've had on the channel in quite some time. It's going to be the Greenskins led by Grom the Paunch, facing off against the Drowned, who shall be led by Solastra Thickfin. Should be quite a bit of fun. So, of course, it is going to be King of the Dead with his classic Drowned. And I have to be honest, as we were loading into this game, pretty much every single game I play against him when he goes Vampire Coast, especially against my Greenskins, he goes with the Drowned. And then when you see the double Paladins, you'll see the double Damned Paladins on horseback, and they're honestly pretty tough to deal with unless you bring some really dedicated spells. So in this case, I brought the Giant River Troll Hag for Spirit Leech. She also does have the Blasting Scroll, so if you take a look here, she can shoot a Fireball. So basically, a Spirit Leech plus a Blast is very efficient at taking out those Paladins. On top of that, just to make sure I can really take those bad boys out, I do have the Night Goblin Shaman. He does have the Vindictive Glare. However, King of the Dead, ever the wild man, innovating here in the metagame, did not bring any of the damned Paladins, so pretty much my magic choices, I would say, are going to be pretty suboptimal. Granted, what's cool about Spirit Leech, it's pretty much always good. So Spirit Leeching Solastra or this Morngul Haunter is going to be decent. On top of that, he did also bring two groups of Depth Guard with Halberds. Pretty wild stuff for sure, but he mentioned to me as the game was starting that he likes to use these against the Stone Trolls. Now, as far as my build goes in the front line, it is going to be Goblin-centric. So we got, I think, 3 Goblins. We do have the AP Gloonies because they're just... These are like the one unit on the Greenskin roster in multiplayer that you pretty much have to bring. Like, there's not a matchup in which they're bad. They're unbreakable, they have good combat stats, they apply poison, and they also do have the Fanatic Ball, which is insanely powerful. So aside from that, it's a ton of archers, pretty much a must bring against Vampire Coast. So you have Orc Airboys into the Sunset. One group of Stone Trolls, I wasn't sure if he's going to come with like a Crab Rush or something. And the Stone Trolls are very good against crabs. Great AP value is pretty durable. These bad boys can certainly kind of hang in there and fight. And if Vampire Coast does go with like powder and cannons and things like that, they do have a bit of missile resist, which helps. Although I don't know if it actually helps against cannonballs. Let's go ahead and read the tooltip here. Missile resist is 30%. I believe it does, because like if you shoot Warp Chicken, for example, with cannons back in the day, he used to barely take any damage. So it's going to be Stone Trolls, 2 groups of Spider Riders to counter his Hound play, 2 groups of Savage Orc Biggins, who are going to be in reserve, and I like to bring these guys to deal with Mornguls and those type of units. And last but not least, we do have some Durkid Squighoppers, and these guys, pretty self-explanatory, backline harass, anti-infantry, they get the job done. So there's going to be 2 of those guys, 1 of each flank. Now for King of the Dead, his front line is going to be Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mobs. It's going to be 4 or 5 of those bad boys, Halberds on the flanks, double Mortars, and Mortars are the classic counter against Archer builds. So he does have 2 of the Mortars here, which will be raining some hot fire here on my Orc Airboys, I would imagine. In the back, 2 Depth Guard with Polearms, probably the most controversial unit here in his build, but we'll see how they do against the Stone Trolls and some of my other large threats. Morngul Haunter, Solastra Dierfan, or Direfin, however the hell you're supposed to say her name, but she's actually not a bad lord. Kind of overshadowed by like Luther Harkin and Count Noctilus in many cases, but she has some really good abilities. I mean, Song of Enthrallment is really, really solid. Let's go ahead and pull it up here. There it is. Melee attack and speed, and she can also summon crabs and Knights Errant into the back line, which are really good at disrupting archer lines against both High Elves as well as the Greenskins. So the battle's underway. The Mortars are going to be singing downtown, going, I believe, initially into the Goblins, but now you can see King has given the attack order to shoot them into the Orc Airboys, and they're getting some pretty good damage in there. 1 volley only takes out 2 of the Orcs, but that's good HP damage, and of course, they don't have the best leadership. I mean, if these were Goblins right now, they'd probably be wavering and be, on the point of running, and that's why I think Orc Airboys are better in a lot of matchups. What's really cool about Orc Airboys also is the fact that their AP values are 6 compared to Goblin Archers who have 1 or 2. So you're going to be getting a lot more AP against like Solastra, Count Luther Harkin, some of those big armored characters on the Vampire Coast roster. So considering he didn't have any like traditional powder, I felt pretty safe just charging in here with Grom the Paunch. So Grom's going to come in here and all of his mighty thickness, his magnitude, certainly going to be clubbing some of these zombies. And on impact, he does take out 7 or 8 zombies, which is good. Granted, the Dire Wolves are going to be chasing him, or these Scurvy Dogs, but I can pull away no problem. He regenerates, so any nibbling damage I do take from the Scurvy Dogs is going to be pretty insignificant. So Blasting Scroll going down there on the Morngul Haunter. I also mither him, because I think I was going to try and focus him down with my archers. Yeah, I got all my archers kind of shooting this bad boy. Also Spirit Leech him, trying to get a bit of an alpha strike on this terror-causing monster, which is, one of the few things on the Drowned roster here that actually can, block up Grom the Paunch and my other high-mass characters. So a little bit nervous to kind of push in. Obviously, he does have the Depth Guard back here, but I'm so used to like playing against King when he has like the bombers that I was like, part of my mind was like, oh, I shouldn't advance because of the bombers, and he didn't even have any. So I was being very cautious here, but in this case, I do also have the Airboy advantage, so I don't really need to engage, right? I can just take this very cautious approach, but Grom the Paunch is being an absolute beast. Song of Enthrallment is down, and that's going to be slowing me down to 13 speed right now in conjunction with the slowing effect from the Morngul Haunter here. But I do respond with the Lucky Banner, which is going to be giving me 40% ward save against all damage types, and he does also use a Crab Summon here. Very, very all-in effort here from King of the Dead, trying to take out Grom, which is the main reason why you bring Grom. He's very tough to all-in. Even if they do get a full surround on you, the Lucky Banner has a pretty long duration. Look at the Tide Call coming in the back here, and what a hero, man. Not using Lore of Vampires, it's truly a pleasure. Does he have Van Revenge, though? I don't think so. I think it's just the Tide Call and the Crab Summon, which is if you are going to be using Lore of the Deep, probably one of the more optimal routes to do that. So we have a big fight here. My Savage Orc Biggins were able to come in from reserve, but now King is going to be dropping his Drown units back here. You can see the Damned Knights Errant going to be pushing in, going after my Orcs, and they might get Terror routed. I believe they do cause terror, but I do have these Stone Trolls and some Spider Riders who I've kept in reserve to try and hold that up. And in the back, my Squig Hoppers are just kind of playing a little bit of a dance macabre here with the Scurvy Dogs, and are able to win that. Scurvy Dogs are infantry sized, so the Wa afflicted here, or buffed Turkic Squig Hoppers will be able to take them down very quickly. So that's actually a really big moment here in the game. The fact that the Squigs are now going to be able to just roll into his artillery line is massive, because those mortars are doing good damage, and currently King is ahead on the Bounce of Power, but that's largely due to the fact that I believe he just had his first Crab Summon wear off, and his second Crab Summon is also active in conjunction with the Damned Knights Errant. So I do have my archers shooting. Some of them are still going strong, shooting into Solastra. And in the back, the Brave Squigs, fresh off my Scars in the campaign here, going to be jumping into the mortar teams and, yeah, able to crumble them very quickly. You know, the Vampire Coast artillery is very, very squishy. I think their melee defense is, yeah, sub 10. It looks like it's 6. So pretty much guaranteed to make every attack that you get. So I do also rotate over, trying to make sure I shut them both down. This one will probably crumble 100%, but the other one I think King should be able to salvage, which will be very nice for him going into the late game. In the front, the Goblins are still holding, but they also do have the support of the Savage Orc Biggins now, who are pretty much lawnmowers. They chop through almost anything they're hitting. Really, really solid unit. I think one of the best units on the entire Greenskin roster, in my opinion. Grom the Paunch has taken a bit of damage, but I'm kind of just using him on the periphery, just kind of circling away, avoiding Solastra where I can, and trying to use his bonus for his infantry to really take down some of these other threats. But here in the back, things are getting a little bit messy. Solastra and the Mourngull Hunter able to push back my archers, or at least damage them. The Goblins are running for the hills. I think I gave them an order to run back. I don't quite remember. But the Giant River Troll Hag is here with her AP values. And also we do have the Stone Trolls, and Stone Trolls were able to clean up all the summons back here and stabilize my Daka line. So the Orc Air Boys and these Air Boys are back online, and now this is where Stone Trolls really shine. They have incredible weapon strength here at 150 with the Waz active, and also do have 60 melee attack. So every hit they get on Solastra is going to be very impactful. And you can see their clubs starting to womp in on that big old crab lady, and that's one way to get back in this game here. Now the Drown still does have a lot of support, and unfortunately I failed to get his mortars offline. I really thought I had actually crumbled up one, so I left. But it wasn't enough. So the Durkin Swig Hoppers and Grom the Paunch, fresh off their retreat here from this mainline engagement, are going to be going back here and trying to shut down the mortars, which is very important. My archer line is kind of in shambles. You can see the mortars over the course of the whole fight have done really well, but the biggest thing I have going for me is the Stone Trolls. And of course, some of my archers are still shooting. You know, 3 units more or less are shooting, 37, 42, 57 archers right here. And we're getting some pretty good damage into Solastra, who's down to actually negative leadership there. That 6 AP value really making a big difference. Also, many of the Vampire Coast assets have had to go forward to kind of help out in the various engagements. So this allows my Squigs and Grom the Paunch to come back here, and Grom should be pretty good at chopping through this crew, although it looks like right now he's just speaking to language of the boys and helping the little goblins kind of get in there and finish the job. So that should be crumbling that piece. Now back in this engagement, Solastra Deerfon is able to terror route off my Forest Goblin Spider Riders and my Stone Trolls, which was actually a little bit of a scary moment. I was like, oh god, is my whole back line going to collapse? And, you know, if King had some hounds or something, and he was able to chase off these Stone Trolls, that would probably instantly pull the Balance of Power back towards the middle. So a very tense moment, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any follow-up, and the Stone Trolls will be able to come back from that terror route. And from here, they are going to be taking Solastra to the club 50 cents down. So we'll see how this goes. Balance of Power, currently my favorite pretty substantially is Grom the Paunch and his Durkid Squigs back here, able to finish off both mortar crews. And now we have Solastra, who's at 855, 557, 546, getting very, very low. Spirit Leech is active as well. Tide Call going down in Song of Enthrallment, but the Spirit Leech and the Stone Troll toll is being paid by Solastra, and she should be going down here 100%. Mourngull Hunter is being hit with the giant sack of meat here from the Giant River Troll Hag, which is always a good sign. Despite her melee attack being lowered down to 1, looks like she was able to get some DPS before that all happened. And Solastra is pretty much down. Grom the Paunch is still regenerating, and his healing gap's pretty much at his like 80% mark, so Grom the Paunch is going to be a pretty persistent threat. And I found that the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard just kind of got stuck in melee with my infantry, and they still got a ton of kills. I mean, 101 kills, but really, I mean, Grom the Paunch is going to be able to do so much damage to these type of units with cycle charging, and they're not as good as regular Depth Guard at cutting through chaff. So the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard are going to be run over here, taking quite a bit of damage and losing a fair amount of models on impact, it looks like. Maybe a couple, I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like a couple of those guys are going to be staying in the dirt there. But King does grab his Mourngull Hunter and intercepts Grom the Paunch. Lucky Banner activated once again, making him an absolute raid boss to take down. And the sack of meat is able to club that Mourngull Hunter, and it looks like the halberds are going to be destroyed by the crumbling. And I think over there, those are just zombie deckhand mobs. Yeah, so anyways, well played to King. Obviously, his build, you know, we both kind of talked about it after the game, was very suboptimal. We both agreed that the depth guard with the polearms were pretty much the weak link. Like, it was still a good fight. But imagine had that, you know, what is it, like 1,400 gold, like, been spent on, like, other, you know, scary things like Mourngulls or other pressure pieces. It would have been a much, much worse game. I think, of course, Stone Trolls are going to be a thing in this matchup, but I don't think you'll ever see more than like 1 or 2. I think going more than that is a little bit all in, and Vampire Ghost could probably deal with that too easily by like routing them off and then chasing them with Hounds and Bats and things like that. But it was cool to get to see them in action, the Halberds. I mean, we didn't get to see them really get on the Trolls because the Trolls were used exclusively as a backline sweeper, and then eventually in the late game they came in. But at that point, the Depth Guard were kind of defending the Mortars, and they were also a little bit mucked up fighting like Goblins and things like that. But this is a build I've been using against, this is a Drowned specific build because I know he likes to use those damn Paladins, but he really jukes me into it. So in some ways I did have a suboptimal build as well, but you know, even still, like Spirit Leech and Vindictive Glare are good in every single matchup. So it's really not a huge punishment. But this is a build I've been using against Vampire Coast in general, and it's been pretty successful. The Quad Archers are really able to deal with deck droppers, focused on big targets. Grom the Paunch is just an absolute pain in the butt. And you have plenty of anti-crab with the Hag, the Biggins, and the Stone Trolls. So it's a well-rounded build. I've had good success. I've lost with it. I've won with it. It's a decent build. Give it a try if you guys are facing off against Vampire Coast and or the Drowned. So well played to King. We played a handful of games, so this was the first of many. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be appearing on the channel soon. Very well played to him. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this Greenskin versus the Drowned showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.